available product portfolio, and then of course some of the programs. And in the last 20 to 30 minutes, Jason's going to run through how to do a checklist of quality control. The main takeaway I have on a lot of this stuff is that you're going to remember about maybe 30% of what I say, right? It's very hard to retain an hour and 15-minute presentation. So the black folder that you have has all the information that we're going to cover, as well as the websites so that you can source the information for any topics that we cover. This piece of paper has my contact information and everything we cover in the website that correlates to it. So we're going to kind of go, is anything anybody like to add to the agenda? Oh, and I will call on people for questions, and then I'll try to, the last event I did Amazon gift cards, so if you do participate and you give me your email, you get a little reward for participating, and I appreciate that. It keeps it a little more fun instead of just listening to Sarah talk for an hour. You do not get one. I think I would get audited on that one. All right, so what does remodel world look like? These are very specific to Des Moines. I have Lincoln, Omaha, and Des Moines. It's very interesting to compare dynamics between the cities. This is not Hardie data. This is Hanley Wood and Dodge data that we spend a lot of money to extract from those companies to research the industry. What it's saying is that you're going to look at a higher intake of remodel resides versus new construction. You probably have already seen that. I know Chanel has, where the new construction starts are kind of starting to go down a little bit because the cost is becoming exponential, and people are maybe staying put in what they call aging in place, and they're trying to focus more on maybe it's more economical to reside my home or invest in my kitchen than to go buy that $300,000 new home. So in the course of the next 3 years, and this will continue, I've got the data out to 10. I just didn't want to fill up the whole slide. And then this is how it breaks out. Here's the new construction starts. Does everybody know what a start is? It's just like, how would you describe a start? Like a permit or like a permit pulled. And then here's the remodel potential resides is a better way to put it. And then there's multifamily. Des Moines has been booming over the last few years in multifamily construction, which everybody has probably seen. I don't focus a ton on that. If you ever have questions on that, our local teams can help you. But I know a lot of my remodel contractors kind of dabble in both sometimes multifamily remodels as well as residential remodels. So I wanted to share the data and essentially entice you. The point of this is to tell you that there's a lot of money to be had. And if you can focus and be successful on remodel resides, and you're good at it, there's a higher margin and there's more trajectory for growth than just focusing on the lower margin new construction. Anybody have an idea what vinyl has done in the last 5 to 10 years? It's kind of an obvious question, right? Does anybody know why vinyl has gone down? This is nationwide. Actually, no, this is Omaha specific. So this is Nebraska and Iowa. I take that back. Make I guess why? Most of it is stemmed from builders. So for the longest time, especially Des Moines, new construction, we can't build it fast enough, houses, houses, houses. Well, HGTV and keeping up with the Joneses has really popularized the wood look. It's not necessarily just Hardie that's bringing vinyl down. You know, there's a lot of other hardboard siding products, but that wood look is virtually impossible to achieve with vinyl. So over the course of the last 10 years, vinyl has taken a slow decline. It's probably hard, I know it is very hard in Omaha. There's only 2 main builders that build with vinyl. Even some of the really low-end ones will put a wood look. And I would imagine Des Moines, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, to be the same. The wood look is a little more popularized in new construction. But the Vinyl Institute, overall across the country, has really taken a little bit of a downward dive. Of course, it's still 82% of the resides in Des Moines are still vinyl. So that's, of course, always going to be a battle of Hardie to get the customers to want to invest in a different product for their exterior. And so how do I do that? I try to work with the contractors to obviously have really great product knowledge, help them with manufacturing rebates, just overall. But then I do that for them because ultimately I want them to make more money in the end. My dream, if you will, is the laminate countertops of the 1990s are the granite countertops of today. Everybody would just, why do you have to have granite, right? And of course with Hardie, we hope that the upgrade from a veneer plastic exterior would be upgraded to fiber cement. as the norms shift in what's a standard building product. In Texas, you can't buy vinyl, like it's just not a thing. So it's very cultural from city to city and state to state. And so I focus very specifically on the remodel construction guys to look at their business. What do they want per square? What are they getting per square? Does it make business sense for us to partner up and try to add Hardie to your business? And what does it look like 5 years down the road? Anybody have any questions on that? You guys are going to be super quiet. Okay. Again, we're not going to spend a ton of time on product, but for me, when I started out with Hardie, I'm fairly new with Hardie. I was a concrete contractor for several years, second generation family business. I had 38 employees. It was exhausting. And so I kind of think a little bit more like a contractor than maybe like a Hardie person. And when Asheville would come give me meetings in my office, or I have a cement guy in, I would just want him to be able to source my information. I was not going to retain all the information that he left with me. I had a million things going on between workers' comp and everything else. The point of that being is this book is really, if you understand how to read our product catalog, you can order from Hardie and you have some high-level tips on getting a basic knowledge for what Hardie is, from like ordering, talking to the customer. There is one main change. In here is going to be this new color portfolio. That is a kind of a lengthier conversation that I have embedded in this PowerPoint, and we will talk about this, but make sure you keep that in there. You'll notice the X's on there. There is some big changes in 2019, and so that will be discussed in about a 5 to 10 minute conversation because it's a little more challenging to explain. This page goes systematically through vertical siding, lat siding, obviously all these things. I'm just going to ask some high-level questions. Let's start this way and go over vertical siding. Not everybody calls it vertical siding. What are some other names for it?
Board and batten. Yeah.
Yes, like so board and batten. What do you think is what's something that would make board and batten more appealing than just like a stucco panels all the way across? Hide the seams. I live in a neighborhood in Lincoln that doesn't allow vinyl, which is kind of great for me to like walk around and learn what not to do sometimes. And there are some big panels where they just wanted the whole house to look like stucco. It's very challenging to hide those seams. And honestly, the board and batten French country rustic farmhouse is super in right now. So if you're learning about siding and you're talking to a homeowner, note that you're giving yourself and your installer a favor by showing them this, because it's much easier to do that than just like panels with no seams, depending on the square footage and so forth. And anyway, that's just an option to kind of understand. If you go to page, because I get questions, well, how big are they and what do they look like? If you go to page 15, these are all the panels we have available. If it's not in this book, we probably don't have it. And I get asked, well, what's the most common? Is it smooth, Cedarville? You know, Jason, I have an order all over the board. What's not common is Sierra 8. That is not available in any color. It's meant to mimic the T111 look. It's for that homeowner that absolutely insists looking exactly like their house does right now. I get that every now and then. I want to look exactly like it does now. Well, that's what that one does. My sentiment on Sierra 8 is that they are quite heavy. And so I do have some contractors that will give them like a 5% discount to go to planks versus those big. You can always, Jason, you're an expert on this. You always interrupt me. He did siding for 10 years, so I want him to correct me if I say things wrong. But the 4x8 and 4x10 sheets can be rather heavy, I think 96 pounds. 4x10s are 96 pounds. So this is the least commonly sold of the panels in my neighborhoods. The rest are just kind of a customer preference. Any insight on panels in your experience?
No. It don't bother me, but I'm not installing it.
Yeah.
You know,
We just did a 4x10, the whole house with that. It's pretty heavy.
Gotcha.
Well, you got me for it.
Yeah.
How was the seams for you guys? It just practice makes perfect.
We used the stucco look, and they didn't want to do anything really with the seams. Like as we stack them, we used the Z flashing and left the corners above. But it's tough to get the only way I can.
They didn't want board and batten, so we just stocked them and left them and said,
Okay.
we'll
You
see how it looks in
prime
3
and
years.
then you
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we don't paint it, it's still not painted. That's not our, we just hung it this prime.
And there's a lot of, nuances to whether you did it with color or whether you did it with prime. I guess my takeaway is these guys know what they're doing. They've done Hardie for quite some time. If you're getting into Hardie and you're like talking to, I know you guys are getting into it, this is the opportunity to leverage your resources. Sarah, I sold a job. It's 4x10 sheets. I want your assistance. That's what I get paid for. Jason and I are salaried people. We want to help you. So please take that information when you, especially if you got a sub that you're just getting to know, not you guys that obviously clearly know what you're doing, and you're kind of like leveraging the resources. So going on with lap siding, I get questions, well, for people that are trying to sell in the home. We are fans of Select Cedar Mill for various reasons. In the home, you can say over 90% of the plank sold in Nebraska and Iowa is that look, so maybe has a higher resale value. The reason you might want to do that versus the homeowner insisting that they want smooth is it's a little more challenging to cover nail holes and blemishes in a smooth product than it is in one that has a wood look. Okay, but on this page you'll see all of our options, and then of course all of the sizes that come available. It's all about having like the resources, right? And then I have a question. What do you think is more common? The staggered or the straight for shakes?
Staggered.
In Omaha, it's the straight. In Des Moines, is it the staggered?
Probably.
That's interesting.
It's pretty close.
Because we pulled the ABC sales report in Omaha, and it was straight because the installers were dictating it because they didn't want to do the harder math to do the staggered install.
Like the whole house, I think, would be more straight, not moved out. If you try to sell straight on the whole house, obviously, the accents, I think, is more staggered.
Typically, you're gonna save a little bit of money doing the straight as well.
Yes, that was
Because I don't wanna get too much into it, but
Yeah.
you're going, on our straight shakes, you're going 7 inches at a time.
Mhm.
And with our stagger, you're going 6, so there's actually 7 more shakes per square for stagger as opposed to straight. So if there's ever a cost issue, it is more cost effective to do straight.
And you can use geckos, so it's quicker.
And it does as well.
And some of these are like, it depends on your level of party, but just kind of having a high level conversation about making sure that you're maximizing your profits and understanding the difference between those. It is a very busy look to do staggered all across the house. Some houses it works for, some it just looks busy. Very much a personal preference. These half rounds on the bottom, I think I speak for both of us.
I've never seen them.
Please don't order them.
They're not
They're
available, are
very,
they?
very, very difficult to source. So talk the customer out of them. Like, it's not a very good Nebraska, Iowa product. We have to like jump through loops and bounds to get it here. So maybe just cross it out. If you're looking to order batten strips and trim, they're on the same page. I get that phone call every now and then. Where's the batten strips at? Well, it's the same page as the trim. Those are the sizes. Maybe goes without saying, but please don't use batten strips for batten strips. Don't rip down a piece of trim and use it because it's designed that way in the manufacturing process to have the edges, sealed and finished. Just a little bit more of a practicality, but I see that a lot. Trim boards, the main number one takeaway for people that are new to Hardie, this is called rough on, and this is called smooth. We don't sell very much of this. This is way more forgiving for nail holes, and they cost the same. And so, if a customer doesn't ask, which they rarely do, just order this. It's also better stocking position here in Des Moines versus this stocking position. So just don't make that mistake if a customer asks for it, you can definitively say, for resale value and what's really stocked well, I really suggest this. Your installer will thank you. You guys can probably contest to that. Just little tricks on that.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
just a couple more things about the trim. So I hung Hardie 10, 12 years ago when we didn't have these in the back.
Hmm.
So they're called flutes, is what we call them as a company. I don't know what the exact terminology of it is. But these are in there for a reason. They're in there for 2 reasons. One is for drainage. So if you've got a vertical trim piece on, get moisture back in beside it, it's gonna be allowed to drain out and not get stuck behind the trim basically. And the other reason is for flexibility. We used to have a 10-foot piece that was solid, and if you picked it up from the center, it was gonna break. It was junk. Our company is the first one to admit that it was a terrible product, and I will definitely admit that it was terrible because I had guys break so many of them. So that's why we put these flutes in there to give it more flexibility, and now we actually have 12-foot pieces instead of 10. So makes a big difference. I used to swear by a different product when we had the 10-footers, and now it's actually a really good product to hang.
But yeah, I mean, the main takeaway is, if you want to watch a video, you hired a new guy in the office, and you know, it's a wet, cold day, you can take him to James Hardie Pros that has like little snippet YouTube videos, how to do shakes, how to do trim, technical install. You want to slip Hardie's warranty into the product portfolio, or into the proposal before you deliver the customer a price. All of these things are available. I really like this website. I think it's very nice for a contractor to source information and watch short little videos and so forth. And then, of course, to top that off, the catalog is also there for a digital download if you like it that way too. Does anybody have any questions? I will talk a little bit about soffit. Anybody have any insight on Hardie soffit and fascia specific to the remodel world? This will be the one time I tell you I would encourage you to really consider maybe using a different product. Hardie soffit and fascia is awesome for new construction, but it is relatively heavy, and you have to remove the gutters to put the fascia on, and that's a very additional cost that may not be in the homeowner's best interest if you can simply wrap it with aluminum or mastic. So it's very specific to the homeowner, and educating the homeowner without overwhelming them on the price of a Hardie soffit and fascia versus wrapping it with aluminum or I think mastic are things I kind of want you to consider. It can be like a minimum $4,500 off their bid if you just wrap the soffit and fascia versus putting Hardie soffit and fascia. I would love you to sell Hardie soffit and fascia. I don't want you to lose a job to vinyl or foam back for $4,500 in the soffit and fascia package. Does that make sense? Did I explain that to the point where you?
Yeah, I guess going a little further on that, one of the biggest challenges is if they've got hard siding or hard soffit, I guess is what I call hard soffit or hard fascia. You got a drip edge, you got the D edge that goes above it. Most of the time that D edge is probably nailed through the top of that fascia. So when you go to try to pull it off, you're gonna damage that metal. And then you're gonna have to somehow replace that D edge on top. And the only good way to do it would be to slide a new one in and then nail through the shingles. So it's just a very difficult process where a lot of times you can take the old stuff that hasn't rotted away, and you can just, like Sarah said, just wrap it with aluminum. Your soffit can be attached to the underneath side of the fascia with an F channel like up against the wall. And it's just a lot more efficient way to do it, and you're not gonna damage any of your shingles and have to bring in a roofer for that. So, that's kind of the main issue with soffit, or with fascia replacement.
All right, I'm gonna move on beyond product unless anybody has any other thoughts or comments on it. All right, I feel like my group here's got a really big mixed bag between having sold a lot of the kitchen table and not. So what we do here is it's just a really brief role play. The main takeaway from this is it's a free resource to bring me along to help you close in the home. Not surprisingly, the close rate for a remodel contractor when you bring a manufacturer's rep with you in the home is significantly higher than if you go alone. Obviously, I go in the home with the same home with two different contractors, so you'd be the only one in there with a Hardie manufacturer's rep. And then we also offer them some rebates if we want to invest in the neighborhood. But when I'm sitting at the kitchen table, when I walk around the house for the first time, I always ask the same question: what do you love about your current siding? And I do that because I want to keep it positive and I want them to talk. Anybody that's any good at sales, the more they talk, the more you sell. And so then I ask other questions after we walked around their house and we see if the grill burnt anything or if the weed eater's ripping up the vinyl or they've got some mold issues. We just make sure we let them explain all the things that they love or don't love about their exterior siding. And then when I'm at the kitchen table, I see something else in their house. I'm like, I see that you just redid your kitchen or you got granite countertops. What made you decide to do this? And then you're trying to understand how they think. Like, oh, well, it was really economical, I was on a budget, we're only gonna be here for 3 more years. Things that you want to know so that when you go to pivot and talk about what you want to talk about, you've got all their information. Kind of going along with those lines, I get asked constantly about Hardie's warranty, which is always kind of an interesting conversation because it just depends on people and their math. What I would so that you don't have to like, because then they might ask you all the way down to hail. It's one page. Just like the 30-year warranty is one page. I would just hand it to them. But on page 30 of the book, it says 30-year non-prorated. That does cover hail. So any damage to the substrate, like there's a ding in it or there's like it got beat up from hail, that's all covered. 30-year non-prorated. So 29 years, it's twice the cost of material. He bought it for $10,000 29 years ago. Everything failed. I'm going to give him $20,000. It's also transferable. Mike sells his house to John. The 30 years extends on to the second homeowner one time. I would not go down the rabbit hole if you could and get into all the nuances. I would just say 30-year non-prorated. Here's the sheet. You can read it. It's also on James Hardie's website. Because of course there's like a million other questions. The trim is 15 years. The color is 15 years. Just kind of familiarizing yourself with the warranty so that when the customer asks you, because they're going to ask you the difference. What's the difference between vinyl warranty and Hardie's? So just so that you're not going, that's a really good question, and you're like stumbling through your sales pitch. Memorize the bullet points. 30 years, non-prorated, 2 times the cost of the material, transferable 1 time. Questions on that?
I didn't know 15 years only, the trim was 15 years?
Yeah.
Why is that?
So if you have a challenge, especially since you guys are local and there's so many of us here locally, reach out to us. I had a guy had a 26-year-old house, and I guarantee you it was installed. I made him right. I just wanted him to be happy. It was not worth the $6,000 disgruntled customer. We just worked with our supplier and made the customer feel like Hardie took care of them. So don't go to some of these battles alone and have them just hate Hardie and hate you. That is not the point of having local manufacturer reps. I'm going to kind of fly through some of these. The takeaway on the material versus its competition is Hardie only does siding. We are a siding fiber cement company. 80% of our business is siding, and so we spend $20 million a year being really good at siding. So if we're not good at siding, we're just not a very good company. So the point of that being is we spend money on gigantic furnaces that bake and make a product hot and cold freeze-thaw cycles. They put them out in the sun to see how they prepare against, or how they compare against vinyl and LP. They do all sorts of scientific experiments and on the R&D side to make sure the product is as good as we want it to be. It's also fire resistant. It's one of my favorite things. It's probably why we do so well in multifamily. I own a 100-unit apartment complex, and you tell me it can't burn. Well, that's probably a pretty good investment for me and my renters who don't really care a whole lot about my property. But this was a gas can, gas rags in a garbage can. Never happened, contracted those. And so I didn't do anything other than having to repaint it. Can you guys see that very well, or should I have the lights off? It's fine. Okay. And of course, the other one's vinyl, and then LP burns as well. My roofers really get excited with this picture because they're like, yes, more work for us. But Hardie is also, like I said, resistant to hail for the warranty. It's not a lengthy part of our warranty. It just says will resist against hail. And so if you have damage to the product from hail, not so much the paint, the product, then it'll be covered. And of course, vinyl, it's just going to get Swiss cheese. And Des Moines too has some really pretty wooded areas. Omaha has a lot of these where there's just lots of birds and so forth. And woodpeckers become an issue. So we always say that there's no such thing as a cement pecker. And the homeowner usually chuckles a little bit. They hit on it once, they're like, oh my God, that sucks a lot, and they fly away. So if you're walking around the house and they have the old wood, which a lot of people do both in Des Moines and Omaha, they'll be like, okay, this has some rotted wood in there. Why did it rot? Was it bugs? Was it woodpeckers? What thing made it rot? And you can always say, hey, bugs do not like the taste of fiber cement, and birds really don't like to peck on it. There's no such thing as a cement pecker. And so that just kind of keeps it, in perspective. Hardie's big, the Coke Pepsi rival is equivalent to the Hardie LP rival. And one of our product differences it's quite profound is the dimensional stability, which is a big fancy word that just means concrete moves less than wood. And so if you're installing a wood-based product like LP, they're going to require a gap or a clip, which when you're installing Hardie, it doesn't move, especially doesn't move this way, it may move this way. 1/16 of an inch is its tolerance on both sides, so most of it do this. You want it to touch for contact. And from a homeowner's perspective, that is a more seamless look. And it is compliant with manufacturer warranty to have to do this. That's kind of a big thing. I do not like the clips. I have a lot of clips in my neighborhood. They fade at a different rate than the product they're up against. And then often, depending on how quality they were installed, they start to slip a little bit. And so they become the most apparent thing on the side of a building. So I'm not a huge clip fan, and I bet most homeowners aren't either. So don't use clips on Hardie. It is one of the allowable parts in the book, but there's zero reason to do it. Just let them up and be done. Of course, there'll be flashing behind it, and Jason will get into that. Any questions on that? Oh, my boss has been with Hardie for 13 years, and he's like obsessed with this analogy. What's your name?
Shane.
Shane, what kind of car do you drive?
Dodge Ram.
You drive a Dodge Ram. So he's gonna buy a new Dodge Ram, right? He's super excited. He's saved up, I have no idea, I'm a girl, $40,000. I don't know what a Dodge Ram costs. And he goes into the factory and he buys it. You know what he's not gonna want happen? He is not gonna wanna paint it in his driveway. He has the expectation that the manufacturer holds accountable for the paint. He is spending, a significant amount of money, as you do with siding, and he wants someone to be responsible for the quality control. And that was Hardie's original logic on going after painting in-house. We manufacture it, we paint it, and we control it. And so when we're sitting at home with the homeowners, we have that conversation, and there's also some other factors that go to it. So, of course, when we control it, our ultimate goal is fade resistance and consistency. So we have these gigantic buildings that are full of ovens, and so we paint it twice to control mill thickness. We also roll it, and then we bake it twice. You could get into the gigantic scientific scenario of the ovens and the temperatures. Just say we paint it twice and bake it twice to keep mill thickness and quality control for fade resistance. One of the main reasons that we do that is because of the climate in the U.S. You cannot buy a prime board in Chicago because the labor price to install it is so astronomical and the weather sucks. And so Chicago, Minneapolis, Vancouver, Washington, those cities and the distributors like the ABCs of those locations are obsessed with color because that's become the norm due to the surface conditions, the temperature, all those things aren't optimal enough for year-round construction like they like it. And the labor rate's really high. So like for us, Nebraska, sorry, I'm in Iowa. Iowa's not a whole lot balmier than Nebraska, but you've got like 100 days a year where you're gonna have rain delays. Because it's supposed to be 48 hours of minimal humidity before you apply the paint to the house. The same thing would be for temperature delays. You guys have got about 100 days a year where it's below 32 degrees. The polar vortex making that even worse. And so ultimately you're trying to find this optimal window to put paint on these homes. And if you are unfortunate enough that it rains while you're doing it, or there's some surface conditions or it wasn't clean enough, that happens a lot where the painter you put it up and the board isn't just, when it's in the factory, it's optimally clean, you're gonna have some of these conditions. Hardie, obviously, when we paint it and it comes pre-painted, all that stuff is covered by warranty. None of that would ever happen, and if it did, it'd be always covered by warranty. That being said, paint is not a pre-colored product. Jason and I are very honest with you. It requires a skill set. It is not something that you just go and do. You need to have some experience installing Hardie Color Plus, and you need to have your hand held by us for free, of course, on your very first few jobs, because there's some common things that people do wrong, predominantly with caulking, and a couple other things that Jason's a functional expert on. But again, he lives like 5 minutes from here, so in my opinion, if they can do it, if everybody in Chicago, all these installers across the whole Chicago market can do it, so can we. It's just practice. It's easier to install a laminate floor than a hardwood floor, but I know it's what I want. And so kind of understanding how to install it and working with your local team, because once you get it down, it's a good money maker. It's a good way to upsell from your competition in the home that's trying to sell you prime. They're trying to sell you prime because he doesn't know how to, because he doesn't understand Color Plus technology, your fade resistance, your warranty with Hardie, and so forth like that. What do you guys do mostly? Prime or?
Color Plus.
Color Plus mostly.
Color Plus.
Yeah. 2 cents on that?
No, I think you got it covered it.
You can recap better when you do your install class. It's a little easier for him having been an installer for 10 years.
I just found that with the Color Plus, I mean, it's kind of a wash pretty much to get a painter out there anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a huge jump on price between Prime and Color Plus compared to the other guys.
We feel like that's gonna become more and more apparent as the availability of labor just continues to go down and down and down. So what I have happen when I'm at the kitchen table with a customer, I'm helping my contractor, they'll go, what's the difference between your product and vinyl? What's the difference between your product and LP? I'm not gonna give them a speech. I'm gonna say, we're fire resistant, we are weather resistant, we base our product based on the climate that you live in, we have a very good paint durability, and cement peckers don't like us. But I also talk a little bit about zone technology. This board says HZ10 on it. This board is for Florida or the southern states. This one is an HZ5, so it's for cold climates. Hardie is the only siding manufacturer in the world that manufactures its products based on the climate that it will be installed in. And sometimes homeowners think that's super interesting. You can just get all sciencey geeky on it, and they're like, really? That's pretty cool. And then they'll Google it when you're not there, and they'll watch Hardie videos and so forth. But that is a fact that you can use when you're trying to educate your customer to give them the knowledge to make the best decision for them. New in 2019, this is the complicated conversation. All right. If everybody wants to take that book, there is an insert in here called the statement collection. So, historically, Hardie's had a set number of colors. You ordered it, it came in 2 to 3 weeks, and then that's how you rock and roll it. We are trying to expand our options. So the main takeaway from this is not that we're losing colors, technically we're adding colors, because in April 1st, your homeowner can pick from 700 colors. Now, that is a personal preference on your account, how you want to pitch that in the home and your comfort level. Some of my really seasoned accounts are like, I'm gonna give them the sheet and give them the 15 economical colors, and if they don't love some of those, then I'll bring out the custom color option, because it's gonna be significantly more. I don't know, you guys know what your price difference will be at ABC for custom color? They'll probably know in the next 45 days, because it launches by April 1st. It could be anywhere from 12 to 25. I can't speak for ABC, I have no idea. It just will be more. And so these colors were chosen over a 5-year data for the state of Iowa and Nebraska, the most common colors sold. And I don't know if you tell your customer that, but it helps you kind of understand how we came to be this data. Some of the good things about adding custom color in April is the lead time is the same. If you order Smurf Blue or khaki brown, it will be here in 11 business days. So 3 weeks, right? To take it, here's the complicated part, to take it a step further. It's not just colors that are part of the economical statement collection, it's also SKUs. So what do I mean by that? If you look closely at this, you'll see that all of those are select cedar mill. They're that wood look, right? So if a customer wants khaki brown in smooth, that is an upcharge. That's part of the dream collection with the custom colors, custom facade look. So again, this is like the go-to sheet. I will give you as many of these as you want until our new literature launches. But this is the page where they will get the most economical color options for Hardie starting April 1st. Some of the great news is that we are not taking a price increase in 2019. Hardie as a manufacturer did not pass a price increase on for these colors. So if you stayed in the 8 1/4, which is most common, these colors, select cedar mill, your bid would be the same per se on the product as it was last year. Some other notable things is if you go down to the panels, 4x10s will be how you're going to want to order them if you're ordering colored panels in 2019, because that is the size that is the most economical size. Shingles and shakes, I get asked this, yes, all the same colors, all 15 of them. Am I missing anything? Here we go.
So, oh, go
Sorry. On the panels, it only comes in 2 colors then?
No, that's.
That comes in all the colors?
It's confusing, sorry, it's confusing. The panels come in all the colors. Yeah, I don't really know, I think they showed.
Oh, yeah, that's what I kinda gathered, but I was just making sure.
No, I got asked that before, and I had to ask my boss, but it's the same thing with the shakes. Even though it says that.
They're just showing,
they're
they're showing what color that
yeah.
is, but
No,
it's,
yeah.
it's gonna be. in
Some
all
of the
colors.
fun things about custom color is last year, I got asked a fair amount for black trim, it's like the new edgy look, right? Now you can get it, and it's, for trims for 400 linear feet in the same lead time, you don't have to tell the customer, I don't really know, like, yes you can, and you will know, maybe once we get that, we're gonna have them, what the, the same lead time, what the price would be. And then you can offer any design look that they're looking for.
So are you offering hard copy literature on the Dream Collection, or is that gonna be a online only, or?
Very good question. They did say at one point that, and I would honestly just leave it at ABC, I'm sure you guys love that they were gonna give a fan deck of the 700. We have not seen them yet, but yes, this website takes them to the Dream website. The 700 colors, you pick the hue and you start out from there. It will be a bit of a challenge. I would think the fan deck is about the closest you're gonna get, but yes, they did say they would have $700 color fan deck for the market.
And then everything off of this page is considered like special order, special run up charge
It's not
type.
really special, I mean, it's part of the way that you word it, and this is important because of how you look at your quote from ABC or wherever you're buying from.
Well, I work at Beacon, so.
Oh, sorry, wherever you're buying from, sorry, I apologize about that.
That's all right.
But like, especially if you're ordering on your end, like statement, I associate statement with economical and Dream with the uptick.
Yeah,
And so if you memorize those, because I had a multifamily quote come in for somebody out of Omaha last week, and I was like, it says Dream, do you really need that color? And he's like, oh no, I picked it. Knowing your 15 colors can save you significant amount. And so that's why like this one piece of paper when you're bidding jobs for your contractors, do you really need Country Lane red? Well, it's what I had in the old catalog. And it will work with you. If somebody, the very beginning when we're first launching this, and you got somebody that were Country Lane red, don't let it be a big deal.
Sure.
Just reach out to me. I will add a credit. I don't want this to be a huge hiccup as we learn it, but I want you to understand
statement collection.
Dream, SKUs. I see panels being, people are so used to ordering 4x8s. I see that kind of being like I need to order 4x10s and it's actually cheaper than a 4x8. And then we always have the problem of people ordering the trim off the 15 and not the 6. But now it won't matter as much because changing a trim color, I don't know, $500 custom color, if it's 12%, 400 linear feet, there's gonna be some good things about it. There will never be a no, we can't get that.
Do you have a guesstimate on the Dream Collection? Like, we talking like 25% more, 12% more?
15.
That's what we said,
Oh,
12 to
okay.
15, and then like
Okay.
About 15% on trim and 12% on our lap siding.
Okay.
From the
Well,
color,
and
or
But
from the
honestly, it's
statement.
not really how, we are guesstimating that. 'Cause
Sure.
It's very much up to
Yeah, that-
you guys, how you wanna mark it up, how you handle it. So we're really kind of careful, we tell contractors 12, 15, because we wanna
Yeah.
make sure that they are in charge of that pricing. And then we just need to get to you as fast as possible.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Do you know when they'll get their updated recollection pricing for the delivery?
I would guess probably by the end of this month,
By the end of the month,
early
great.
March.
But yes, does anybody, I apologize, I know this is kind of a challenge to kind of understand when you've been selling Hardie for a long time. But does anybody have any questions on statement versus Dream?
I'm gonna ask that. So these are Dream now.
Well, only the 15 that aren't part of this.
So 10 of those have been eliminated.
Thank you.
Not really eliminated, but 10 of them have been moved to our.
To Dream.
And then it may be a new name.
Okay.
If you go to that website, it's got the whole list of 700 and it shows the actual color, and they've got crazy names, I don't know, Smurf Blue.
Same paint process and everything, I'm sure. No? Different painter?
No, okay,
Associate.
so, wow, wow, okay, I don't wanna go down the rabbit hole, but it's a very legitimate question. On the frequently asked questions, we got asked about sheen difference between statement and dream.
Right.
And they are different paint lines. They did that on purpose so that we could go fast, right? Cause that was, it got last year is we would have to like clean out a whole line to run your Smurf blue. They are a slightly different sheen. My North Dakota teammate saw it, he said, it's pretty difficult from the naked eye. But the minute I get a sample, I will bring it along because I physically have not seen it. But they are different lines, they are different sheens. But I think maybe only you or I, experts in siding, would potentially see it. But the minute I get one, I will certainly leave it at their shop for a comparison so that we feel like we're confident on that. It's a very legitimate question. Those that will be kind of difficult to understand. And for the homeowner, do not send them down a rabbit hole. Just give them this information. If they're Jaja and they have this other NHOA, you know, they can go down there, but I feel like sometimes I find, especially in the remodel world, paint color becomes the longest part of the decision process. And what do they call it? Analysis by paralysis or whatever. They'll just
Too many options.
and then they'll ask you for a longer board of a certain color, and oh geez. So, okay, some other fun stuff. This has had a couple different launch dates yet, so I'm a little, I'll just kind of gloss over as like a teaser and a carrot. But until it actually is physically in the state of Iowa, don't ask your distributor, whether it's Beacon or ABC, to order it, because they don't have it yet. But what it is for the lack of a better word, I just call it our ship rack line, which is super ultra high end. It'll be the most expensive product that we make.
Yeah.
But there are those areas of Des Moines that it makes sense in, correct? And so it'll have a V-groove, a beveled channel. It'll have these 4 options that are 5/8 inches thick. So they're a very premium, high end. They can go vertical, horizontal. They will be extremely unique. And I do feel like we can sell, I mean, honestly, like 8 houses at the most in all of Des Moines. It's a very high end product, but it is super cool. And you'll know that customer when they call you, and you're like, I have a product that's very unique. And they're like, I want it, I don't care what it costs. We get those every now and then. And that's what this product is called. It is not alive yet. They said it will. Which means, yeah.
We have one of those coming up this spring.
When the product's available.
Yeah. They said actually after April is when we were gonna do it, but there is more literature on this stuff, because I just haven't seen it.
I have some in my car. I mean, I even have the samples in my car, so if somebody is absolutely determined to talk to this specific homeowner where you're like, because we have a couple of those high-end homeowners who find it on our Texas websites, and they're like, I want it, and they want it, right? And if you need the sample, I have them in my vehicle. I just want you to be cognizant that it's not here yet. Do not overpromise and make yourself look bad. But it is pretty cool when you get it. So.
That artisan square, is that the same weight as a regular artisan? I'm sorry.
Is it this?
Same weight,
Jason?
Yeah,
double the weight, double the price?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it's double, but it's
Right.
it's gonna be more than artisan though. You're correct on that. Because I asked, was it the same as artisan? You're like, no, it's more. But it has an interlocking system, so I was told it's actually not too terribly hard to install.
So I guess a couple of things, it is gonna be pricey. As far as install goes, it's faster. It's, once you get your first row, it's all tongue and groove, and it just snaps together, kinda like the old car siding port soffit. And it actually can be used for soffit on that end, but, and other options where you're actually gonna be saving costs. I mean, this shows some outside corners here. There's actually no trim, because you can actually bevel this product and bevel it at a 45 where you don't have a trim cost at all. So there's ways, it's definitely gonna be an upcharge, and it's gonna be a high quality product, and, it's gonna be very modern, but there are ways to save and really narrow that gap. But like I said, it's gonna be on those customers that
You'll know.
That don't care about money
cost
anyway.
doesn't matter,
Yeah.
they want the new innovative thing, and that's what this will be.
Okay.
Alright, so I'm gonna fly through the rest of this. I'm gonna skip this.
I mean.
Does anybody in here do new construction?
I know Brent, I know they do new construction,
But you
I know they're
understand-
well around 100%
Yeah, and
Hardie.
they understand the program. Does anybody do new construction that's never heard of the 100% Hardie? Okay.
I mean,
I think
I can do a real quick overview of it.
if no.
So the 100% Hardie program is for single family new construction. I'll do it real quick. So it's single family new construction only.
Yes, sir.
Basically what it is if a builder chooses to use all of our product, as opposed to LP soffit and fascia with our product. If they use our soffit and fascia, or we have a couple lenience areas where they can use aluminum soffit and fascia. But anyways, to make it fast, so we're actually certifying installation. So what we're doing is if they choose to use all of our product, they're gonna register a home. It's gonna come to our emails and say, ABC Builders is gonna build a home at 123 Main Street. We're gonna keep track of that house, the stages that it's in, and then once sightings begins, we're gonna make it a point to have one of our either our inspector or our installation specialist on site to make sure the guys know how to install it properly. Then at the end of the house, when it's all done, we're gonna have, we've hired a person that's, his only job is to inspect houses for James Hardie for new construction. So he goes around Des Moines, he's got this whole list of registrations, right? Typically in Des Moines, we have about 150 going at one time. That's anywhere from just a foundation to siding in progress. So his job is to go visit all those houses. When they're done, he's gonna inspect them. Once they are either pass or don't pass, if they pass, then they've got an extra 10-year service commitment from us, which basically means the labor and the product are gonna be covered for 10 years. So if something goes wrong in the first 10 years, we're gonna pay for the labor to get it fixed, as well as the product. So real quick overview, it's single family new construction only. But we've had great success with it in this market and a few other markets, but just one way to take a little bit of the liability off the builder and the installer. So it's kind
And homeowners will hear about it and ask you for it for their reside.
Yeah, we do not do it on
Not
remodels.
available for reside, don't get yourself in the pickles.
It's too many variables, too many things behind the wall that make it a little bit.
We're gonna fly through the next two slides because they're about marketing and the tools that Hardie has for free that we execute with contractors that wanna help us grow. This is called the 2 to 10 campaign. And so what it is we want you to win one house and then mark it to the 2 to the right, to the 2 to the left, and the 10 across the street. We do that with before, during, and after drip campaign postcards centered around the zip code of the actual address that you sold to. We weed out, under $10,000 or under $30,000 your income, over 90 years old, under 18. Lots of things that we hyper focus on it. After that, you'll get a Pardon the Noise 20 Starbucks gift cards that your sales reps or yourself, depending on your company, go out and meet people in the neighborhood, apologize for working and making noise, and say, here's our Starbucks gift card on XYZ exteriors. If anything blows in your yard, give us a call. Here's our contact information. The homeowner, Jane Smith, gets a popcorn tin with your XYZ exteriors and says thank you for choosing Hardie and us for your reside. And the final thing is they get 6 referral cards. This is kind of cool, but it's always misunderstood. What's your name?
Steve.
Steve did a reside with me and your teammate? Jerry? Jared. Steve and Jared are neighbors. Steve just bought a house with Hardie from XYZ Exteriors. I'm gonna give him these gift cards. So if you give him one and he does a bid, just a bid with XYZ Exteriors, you both get $50. So it's a mirrored referral system. If he turns around and does the reside, then you both get $250. So it's 500 and then 100. So it's actually a fair amount of money. It encourages you to give it to your homeowner who you got to know and have this great relationship because you did their house and you did their roof and their windows. You can potentially cherry pick a little bit on who you want to give it to, but it's meant to reciprocate, to work on your own referral system so that whoever you sold the house to is your next raving fan. Does that make sense? So I think it's cool that you get $50 each just for a bid. And it all, of course, comes from Hardie. There's no administrative thing for you to do. The only thing I would do is call XYZ Exteriors and make sure you actually did a bid. Just to make sure the homeowner didn't lie about that. But that is how the referral system works. Part of my job, which I'm sure sounds super exciting, but I drive around neighborhoods and I check out certain neighborhoods neighborhoods, and I try to map them, and then I geo-map them on my Excel spreadsheets. We use something called eSpatial. So I use jobs that have been logged by previous contractors. I use age of the home, cladding material, a whole bunch of factors that someone way smarter than me in Chicago decided. And then I drive little cul-de-sacs and try to find pockets of like 30 homes that all need to be recited. And then I try to canvas those areas with contractors that I know will help me push Hardie so they don't go vinyl, or they don't go LV, right? And we actually invest in those streets. Like, part of my job is to find somebody that wants to have a bunch of resides. We like Hardie will make anywhere between $800 and $1,200 a reside. We're very transparent about that. And we do that because if I give you $2,500 to get Jane Smith's house in that cul-de-sac, I literally am investing in you because I think that you're gonna market and you're gonna get all the way down the street. Not like roofers do when the hailstorms hit. We do that when we see a neighborhood that needs pocket resides. And we use a lot of data to kind of try to hyper-focus way down to the streets on where those will be. I usually pay for those kits initially until you get your ball rolling and you feel like you're doing profitability and we kind of get to know each other, and then it kind of depends on how much I want that neighborhood. I do not like to invest in the doctor's neighborhood. If the house is over $600,000, do not call me. They don't need a rebate from Hardie, okay? I like to invest in people that want to have pride in ownership, and that extra $2,500 and the houses around there would really impact that individual, and we can make a design difference in how that cul-de-sac looks. Does that make sense? I show this to a lot of contractors, and I would say 10% of them actually use it. So if I ever switched careers and went into exterior sales for a contractor, I would pull one of these every single time. I would go to Jane Smith's house, I'd take 8 photos with my iPhone, and when I walked in with my tablet, I would show her a design idea. It looks like I did so much homework for 8 photos. So what Hover does, this is Hover, don't be fooled, Hardie doesn't create this, Hover does. Hover is a brilliant company. In my opinion, they have really understood how to empower a homeowner to feel like they're in control of it, because their latest beta allows you to text the link to the homeowner and they can fiddle with the design and text it back. So you can share ideas, she can share it with her mother. I highly encourage you to have her share with Facebook and give you some free advertising. Some of the best I've ever seen is when Jane Smith designs it. She has 2 designs and she posts it on Facebook. XYZ Exterior is going to do my house. Vote which one you like the best. People always vote on social media. It's crazy. And it's free advertising for you. And it just got your name and that information out there. Hardie invests in this. So Hover is done on, their pricing varies on the complication of the house. Sometimes they're as cheap as $30. Sometimes they're as expensive as $100. This is residential construction. If you are passionate and honest about wanting to partner and helping me grow Hardie in specific neighborhoods, I will fund your Hardie account or your Hover account, because my investment is well spent. Because if you use it and you come in there with a design element, your close rate is so much higher than if you just walk in with like the trifold samples and hey, here's some literature on vinyl and Hardie. It really has that kind of element to it that the homeowner thinks you really know what you're doing.
It's good for ordering material too.
It's awesome for the better side. The other side of it is, I'm sure your distributors love the 10-page takeoff. And you guys know this, but I have had some people that are new to Hover that give a little forewarning. If you take a picture on 2 sides, sometimes it'll count the corner twice. So if you've never used Hover before, make sure you check with your distribution partner to make sure that you're ordering it appropriately so that you don't duplicate material.
I like this.
Questions on that?
I like cover better than
This is actually my last use Hardie slide. I was an outside sales selling power tools for like 10 years. And I actually get bonused for coming in the home to help you sell. So you're never bothering me, even though I live a long way from here. But I'm telling you right now, it is an underutilized skill. Our close rate with my guys in Des Moines or my guys in Omaha and Lincoln is pretty high. It goes so far as if you're an owner in this room, I can help create spiffs to get your teammates to enjoy selling Hardie and kind of becoming more comfortable. Because honestly, with 83% of the resides being vinyl, I have a lot of work to do. And a lot of it is understanding the knowledge of what makes vinyl and fiber cement a different sales cycle. We have these little bags, you see one over there. If you get into Hardie a lot and you want a about Hardie for you, I recommend muting that and using your own voice. But it allows you to practice in the home. So like it'll use the words dimensional stability. It'll talk about the zone technology. And so if you listen to the presentation on your own leisure, then you can absorb it and then you can better use those words on your own when you're not not in front of a homeowner, correct? Anybody have any questions on that? And then I think we're gonna rock into Jason's installation.